Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for our quarterly mental health and wellness session, which today is going to be building your self-care toolkit. And I just want to welcome Jackie Hill, who's going to be presenting from BHS. Jackie, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being here. As Nina said, I'm Jackie Hill. I'm your facilitator for today. As we go through the webinar, please feel free to ask questions or thoughts anytime during. You don't have to wait till the end. Just go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will answer them for you. If I happen to miss it, I'll kind of look back and forth, and hopefully I'll catch you. If I don't, go ahead and ask me again. But this is a good one. Self-care, always a good thing to remind ourselves about. There's going to be some tips in here that might be things that you already know, and that's great. Hopefully there's some new things too that you can add to your toolbox, but remember that, you know, what's right for me might not be right for you. So hopefully you have a lot of different things that you can try just to keep yourself, you know, take care of yourself. So with that, I'm going to turn off my camera so we can focus on the slides, and I will come back again at the end. Okay, let's get going here. So our objectives are on the screen today, and you know, just being here, just coming to this session is a great act of self-care. It's wonderful. I see 22 people are on here. And we're going to start today by talking about how our bodies respond to stress. And then we'll talk about what gets in the way of our own self-care and how we can overcome those barriers. So our objectives are to understand the key concepts around stress, identify barriers to self-care, explore effective self-care strategies that we can use daily, monthly, and weekly, and identifying some resources. I'll give you at the end some resources that you can use. So let me ask you, starting off, what do you hope to gain from today's session? What interested you in this topic? Anything in particular that you're looking for or that jumped out at you? Don't be shy. It's like Las Vegas, right? What happens here stays here.
Thing. I think it's nice to always collect, you know, more tools that help promote well-being. So happy to hear other ideas and things to put in my little toolkit.
Jackie, someone shared in the chat that they're looking for to de-stress.
Yep, saw that. Thank you.
And then I think what you and I had kind of talked about earlier with just as people are returning into the office, that does add a level of stress for people as well. So
yeah, so good. We'll go over some of those as well. So let's look at a little bit about stress. And this might be information that you already know again, but if not, it's, oh, wait a minute, we got another one. Someone said, getting more tools to manage stress and self-care takeaways. Beautiful, we'll do that. We'll do those as well. So you probably heard of fight or flight. Is there anybody that's not comfortable with fight or flight? And I'll get into it a little bit more. Fight or flight is that natural response to stress, to any perceived stress. So if our body thinks that we're in any kind of danger, whether it was being attacked by a bear or having to stand up and give a presentation, we can go into this fight or flight reaction. And it's actually fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Now there's a little bit more. And when we're not in that, we're in the rest and digest. So this is very normal that we want our body to do this, because if we were truly in danger, you know, we want our body to kick into high gear so that we could fight whatever it might be or get away from it. And our bodies are equipped for this. We're equipped to handle this occasional stress. But what happens is we are not under occasional stress, right? We're more under chronic stress. So we're not getting into that rest and digest. What's the word I want to say? We're not getting into that rest and digest area as often as we should, because we're under chronic stress. You know, we get in the car and we have traffic going to work, and then we get to work, can't find a parking space, and get in there and you're late for a meeting, right? Get home, you've got to do laundry, Did you take out chicken for dinner? You've got to take the kids to soccer, right? It just continues and continues and continues. And that's what the problem is there. And so you can see on the slide, when we're under acute stress, this is what happens, right? We want our body to do this for the times that we are under actual stress that we need to take care of. So the problem is you'll see on this, look at all the things that happen to us when we're under stress, right? A lot of our organs, a lot of our body is affected by this stress response. When you're under stress, what are the kinds of things that happen to you? What do you feel or think or do when you're under stress? I know for me, the first thing it hits me is in my stomach. I feel just sick to my stomach when that's my first sign of stress. What about you?
I get knots in my stomach, and I feel like I find ways to just disconnect. So, like, play a game on my phone or whatever,
Yep.
just so I don't have to think about it, whatever's
Yeah.
going on.
Yep. Just kind of mindless, right? Fast heartbeat, very common. Yeah, my daughter, I have 2 children, 29 and 32. And my daughter, the younger one, gets jaw pain because she clenches her teeth. So if that's familiar to anybody, headaches. Yep. Anybody get tension in their shoulders? Oh, great question. Is it possible to be under stress and not know it? Absolutely. And that's a great question. And let me ask you. So these symptoms that you're putting in, backache, headache, stomachache, fast heartbeat. The good thing about those, because you might look at that and say, well, there's nothing good about that. The good thing about those is that they're identifying that you are under some kind of stress. So, for example, every time you go to your in-laws' house and you pull up in the driveway and you get a backache or you get a headache, something about that situation is causing you stress. So these are good things because it's kind of like your body saying, hey, wake up, something's going on here. And if you don't take care of it, it can get worse and worse. Does that answer your question? Great. Increased alertness. Yes, that is an accurate perception because your body is getting ready to fight or flee. So, your pupils are actually dilating. Energy is going to those big muscles. So absolutely a stress symptom. Upper shoulder tightness. Tension, butterflies, nausea. Yes, that is definitely stress related. I get it in my stomach. Definitely feel sick to my stomach when I get stressed, so that can actually happen. And if you find that you get nauseous or you get headaches or you get tension, try to see if there's a pattern. And sometimes just writing down when this happens, and then you can go back and look, oh my gosh, it's every time I have to go in and talk to so-and-so at work, or it's every time I have to stand up in a meeting, or it's, every time I have to drive in traffic. And then you can identify it and use some of these stress techniques that we're going to talk about. Awesome questions. Keep them coming. So this is good. This is what we want, right? We want to have a stress trigger and then it goes away. So we get to recover. So this is how our bodies are meant to handle stress. And when we're able to recover from stress and return back to that baseline, then we can handle the next stressful event. However, this is what it really looks like. This is what we're going through in our modern lives. So stresses come one after the other, and we don't have time to recover in between. So we're spending a lot of time in that fight or flight mode. And then our stress level just is going up, it's going up, it's going up. And we get to the point where we can't handle it without some kind of adverse effects. And this buildup is what's called chronic stress. And there's really only so much we can handle. And eventually we meet our limit. Has anyone had that happen to them? Just continued stress. And then you get to that tip over point. That happened to me 2 years ago. And I was just talking to Nina about this. I lived in Maryland my whole life. And 2 years ago, my husband and I moved to Delaware, and we had lived in our house for 25 years, raised our kids there. My parents lived 1 mile away. My sister lived a mile away. We moved down here in May of 2022. In June, my father died. My mother was alone for the first time ever. She's 95. My moving to a new home, which is, somebody told me, more stressful than divorce. All these things happened at one time. And all of a sudden I got all these health issues happening. And it was that stress. Yeah. And then depression. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got to figure out how we can do something about this, because it's so unhealthy. So this might be something that you might be like, this is kind of strange. If you look at this chart, it shows that there is a peak level of stress. Most people, when I talk to them, they're like, well, that doesn't make sense. I would think that the more stress we have, the more our performance would go down. But you see on this, if you have absolutely no stress, can you think of a time in your life when you had no stress? Maybe you were on vacation and nobody was bothering you and you didn't have to check your phone back in the day and it was beautiful weather, right? And you really, there's nothing to do. You have no expectations. It's kind of hard to get motivated, right? So there is a healthy level of stress where it does keep us motivated and focused. The problem is, boom, you get on the other side of it. Look what happens, right? You get sick, you get disease, burned out, anxiety, panic, all of these things can happen to us. So stress is not inherently bad, right? We need a certain amount of it, but we need to figure out how to find that balance, right? Where do you see yourself on this curve? What do you think when you look at this? Anybody want to share anything? I'd say I'm over, unfortunately, right now, I think I'm over a little bit to the right of the peak performance. I'm working on it, but it's tough sometimes. So hopefully we can get some ideas of things that we can do here. To the right a little, same with me. Life is continuing up and down. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes, digestive issues are definitely a result of stress. Absolutely. So self-care, what is this thing? And this is just one definition: the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health, the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. Expressing oneself is an essential form of self-care. So self-care is a personal concept. You get to define what it means and what it looks like to you. It's different for all of us. So what does self-care mean to you? If you had, let me say to you, okay, you have an extra hour in your day and you have to use it for self-care, what would you do? Take a walk? Oh, person after my own heart. Me too. That is very stress reducing for me. Read? Oh, another thing I love to do. You hit my two favorite stress things. Spa day. Yes. We could get something done in an hour, right? We could get that hour massage. Anybody else? Sleep. Yeah, that's a good one too. Exercise, drink alcohol. That's interesting that you should say that. So having a drink, doing some retail therapy, shopping, gambling, drugs, excess alcohol. Do those things help with stress? Are they stress management tools? Yeah, Anya's got it right. They are temporary. The problem is they've got a lot of negative longer term effects, right? Yeah. So those are ways that people cope with stress. We just have to make sure that we're not getting to the excess there where it's kicking over into the negative. So let's look at some dimensions of self-care. And what I'd like you to do is think of excuse me, where you would like to prioritize your self-care right now. And it might be something else that's not on this chart, maybe spiritual, professional, but this is a way that you can think of self-care. So we've got physical, the caring for our body, getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, exercise, preventive screenings, things like that. We've got financial, so managing our finances, using our time and our money in ways that support our priorities. We've got mental, things that keep our thinking healthy. So things like journaling or meditating or asking for support. Emotional, learning to feel and express your emotions in healthy ways. How many people learned about feelings when they were growing up? Anybody learn about feelings? I did not. My dad was an engineer, and he was very logical. Everything was black and white, good or bad, right or wrong. So all decisions were made with our head. And he was a wonderful man, wonderful dad, but there was no decision that you made with your heart or your feelings. So I knew nothing about feelings other than you really don't talk about anything unless you're happy. So I had to learn all that kind of stuff when I got older. So a lot of us don't know about feelings, and that's so normal. So if you feel like you don't know about feelings, look into it, because your dad was the same way. A lot of engineers are that way, aren't they? But I used to think when I was angry that I was actually angry. But a lot of times when we're angry, there's an underlying feeling. Maybe we're hurt, or maybe we're frustrated, or maybe we're irritated, or maybe we're scared. So, knowing what you feel can be a big help. We're going to talk about that a little more. Your dad was an engineer. I think we need to have a little club, right? At the engineer club. So where do you think you'd like to focus right now? What's the area for you if you look at this and you say, this is probably the one I want to focus on most? Oh, we got a lot of dad engineers out there. I love that. Anything that any of these pieces of the pie that you think this is where I want to focus right now? Support group for children of engineers. Yes, I'll get my two sisters in that with us. Well, think about it as we go through. If there's a particular dimension that you want to focus on. So as you think about that, let's look at some barriers. And if you can think of some more barriers, let me know. So these are things that get in the way. And this is where a lot of us just kind of hit a wall and struggle. We know it's important, right? We know it's important to take care of ourselves. We want to do it, and then something gets in the way, right? And it can be internal. So, we feel guilty. Oh, we don't really need to take time for self-care. We really need to take care of our family, take care of our parents, take care of our kids. And it can be external barriers. Maybe we need support from someone else in order to make self-care possible. So what gets in the way for you? What are the barriers for you? I feel like for me, a lot of times it's I'm not getting enough sleep, and then I'm tired and I don't want to do anything. Children, oh my goodness, they, and it doesn't matter how old they are. My daughter, the 29-year-old, called me last night. I was getting ready to sit down and read, and she called with a crisis, and so I talked to her for about 45 minutes. That was definitely a child barrier. Time and lack of support, very common. Anyone else? So think about these, because these are things that if we can figure out what the barrier is, we can start to do something about it. And one of the ways is shifting your thoughts or reframing. So we have external barriers like time, right? Lack of support, children, but a lot of times it's our own thinking. And so if we can shift our thoughts to validate our needs, it can really help us get ready to tackle those external barriers that we're talking about. Nina said, for me, it's not lack of awareness, but not making my needs a top priority, focusing on the kids. Yeah, that's normal. That's that feeling a little bit guilty about putting yourself first. And self-care is not selfish. It is vital. And if there's anything I think that I learned over the pandemic, it was definitely how vital it is. So you can shift your thoughts, right? Instead of self-care is something I have to do, some self-care is something that they tell me I need to do, right? Self-care is something I enjoy doing. If you feel like everybody else comes first, I will not feel guilty for taking care of myself. I have needs and they matter. We know that fifth one down, right? I cannot pour into others if I'm empty. Put your oxygen mask on before you help anybody else. And I'm worthy of asking for support. And affirmations are great because the more you say them, the more they get into your mind. Anybody have negative self-talk? Oh, why did I do that? Oh, I'm so stupid. I knew not to do that. I knew not to go that way. I knew not to, whatever it might be. Anybody have that? It's very, very common. A lot of us grew up with, maybe hearing that from our parents around the clock. Yeah, so common. And so affirmations are a way to help ourselves with that. Yeah, my daughter struggles with that too, Nina. So I try to catch her because sometimes you don't even realize that you're saying that stuff. And that actually last night she was like, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm like, Meg, let's reframe that. You're learning, you had a bad day, whatever it might be. How can I reframe that? Maybe I made a bad choice today, but I'll learn from that. So affirmations are something that can really help with that. And it's kind of that fake it till you make it. Keep saying it to yourself, and until you believe it. So let's look at how we can prioritize. Oh, good. I'm glad you like that tool. Yeah. It's hard. I think it's so hard because those of us that struggle with this have been doing it our whole life. We don't even realize sometimes that we talk that way to ourselves, things that we would never say to a good friend, right? But we'll say it to ourselves. So yeah, it's very normal. So this is just a way that I'm going to go through that you can practice better self-care. So we've got daily, weekly, monthly approaches. And as we go through these ideas, think about what you're already doing for self-care and what things you might want to start or maybe do a little more of. So these are some ideas as we go through, but remember, you're the expert, right? You're the expert on your own self-care. Those of us that love to read probably know people that think, oh my gosh, I could never sit down and read a book for 2 hours, right? To those of us that love to read, that is the ultimate self-care. But right, a lot of people would think, ugh, I can't do that. So what can you do every day? So remember when we looked at those graphs in the beginning, and stress is a daily part of our life, right? And so to recover, to help us recover, we need daily self-care. So we don't have to hit all of those dimensions. Doesn't have to be every single day. I have to hit the physical, the mental, emotional, relational, financial, spiritual, professional, right? You don't have to do that every day, but think about an area that most needs attention and what is one thing that's doable for you. So what do you think that you, or would you say that you already do on a daily basis that's self-care? And it can be a really, really small thing. Drinking water, trying to have vegetables every day, trying to get out of your chair once an hour. Anything that you can think of that you try to do every day? Walk to the mailbox. Beautiful. Anybody have a gratitude practice? That's something I try to do every day for self-care. Exercise, beautiful. Exercise for 20 to 30 minutes, get that heart rate up. Yep. And exercise is probably the very best self-care strategy, right? Even if you don't feel like doing it, once you go out and do whatever it is, you always feel better. As long as it's something you like to do, right? So these are just some ideas of things that you could do on a daily basis. So, you know, if those of us that are in the engineer support group here, you know, we could look into the name your feelings, right? Learn a little bit more about feelings. Anybody familiar with the author Brene Brown? Brene, Brene Brown. Yeah, she does podcasts and writes books and has TED Talks, and I follow her on Instagram. She's awesome. Yeah, and if you want to learn more about feelings and that type of thing, she's got some great. Yeah, I was just going to say Daring Greatly. That was the book I was going to recommend. She's written a number of books, and they're awesome. Yes, Mel Robbins as well. I follow her too. She's a big one for affirmations, and she's very real. I love that. Both of those women are very real, and they've struggled, and you know, so they're very relatable, I think. So let's do a couple techniques. Me gave me a picture. Oh, Mel. Oh, cool. With her? You have a picture with her? I always see her with when I follow her on Instagram and with pictures of people she runs into in the airport or whatever. That's cool. I like that. She's neat. So we know stress is with us every day. We can't erase it all. We wouldn't want to, right? We need a little bit of it so that we aren't just being slugs all the time. So one thing that we always have, and it's a really good one, is our breath. Does anybody practice deep breathing? Anybody ever do that for stress or anything? It's an awesome tool. Sometimes if you remember, that's the key, right? Trying to remember. What deep breathing does, oh good, Myra, it counteracts our body's fight or flight response. Okay, so it might not bring us totally out of that, but it kind of helps dial it back a little bit. And we're going to give that a try. Okay, so before we even start, just check in with yourself. You know, where is your stress level right now on a 1 to 10? If you feel comfortable, put it in the chat. And try to notice what your stress feels like in your body right now. You know, is it in your shoulders? Are you clenching your teeth? Do you have a little bit of a headache? Are you feeling irritable? You know, what's going on with you right now? And being able to identify that is good, because then when you do some stress management, you can see if it gets better, right? 7, 5, we're all pretty much at a little over norm, over the norm, or over the average, I should say. Well, let's do this deep breathing then and see if this helps a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're not going to start just yet. Oh, everybody's pretty much around the same area. We all need it, right? We're going to take, when we start, we're going to take 4 deep breaths together, and then we're going to check back in and see how we feel, if we feel any differently. And so I would recommend breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And what we're going to do here for this breathing technique is we're going to breathe in for a count of 4 and breathing out much slower at a count of 8. And this breathing pattern can help get you out of fight or flight. So the first thing, get nice and comfortable in your chair. Sit up real tall. It's called a dignified posture. So it's like there is a string from your ceiling to the top of your head, and you're sitting up nice and tall. Uncross your legs if your legs are crossed, and put your feet flat on the floor. If you're somewhere you can take off your shoes, and that you can ground even a little bit more. Pull your shoulders up to your ears and then drop them on your back. Drop them away from your ears. A lot of us are sitting with our shoulders kind of hunched. And then kind of make any movements that you want to shake off any energy. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If not, try to just look at something non-distracting and try to soften your gaze. And so for the next few minutes, there's nowhere you need to go and there's nothing you need to do. Okay, so without changing your breath, just notice it. Just notice your breath. Notice it entering your nose, down into your belly, down into your chest. Notice that rise and fall of your breath, moving in and moving out. Feel the sensation of your chest rising and your belly expanding as you breathe in. Feel the sensation of your belly and chest emptying as you breathe out. Continue breathing normally. And we are going to start with some deep breathing. So what I want you to do on your next breath, and I'll count you into it, we're going to take a slow, deep inhale down into our belly. You might want to put your hand on your belly so that you can feel your belly, that imaginary balloon in your belly expand. And then we're going to take that slow, slow, slow exhale for 8. And we're going to imagine that balloon in our belly deflating. Okay, so we're going to do the slow inhale through our nose, slow exhale through our mouth, and let's go. So breathe in slowly through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. And now slow exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take another slow inhale for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause and breathe out for 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do 2 more breaths like that. Imagine filling your belly up like that balloon and completely emptying it with each breath. Do that slow breath in for 4, pause, and breathing out for 8. When you finish your last breath, blink your eyes open, come back into the room and to the awareness of your surroundings. When you come back into the room, think about, do you notice any differences in how you feel after doing the breathing? Let me know in the chat. Anything different? A little more relaxed? Okay, good. Wonderful, wonderful. Calm, beautiful. And that was what did that take us? Maybe a minute, minute and a half, right? Oh, brightness, I like that. So, we have that with us all the time, all the time. So if you feel, not even when you feel stressed, but because we know we go through this all day, once an hour, take a minute and a half and do this. At your desk, go into the bathroom, whatever, right? And these little mini breaks during the day can bring us down enough to handle the next stressor. Another one that we can do, has anyone ever done progressive muscle relaxation? This is one I like to do at night if I have trouble going to sleep. So it's another easy one we can do. We can do it at work. Takes, a couple minutes. And so this is another technique that can reduce not only your body tension, but your psychological stress as well. And it's pretty simple to do. All you're going to do is tense and relax all of the major muscles in your body from head to toe. And the reason we want to tense them first before we relax them is because we can relax them even more thoroughly after we tense. And so then we let go of more of that physical tension. And it's pretty easy. You can do it anywhere. And when you practice this regularly, it's so much easier to do. It's kind of like an automatic technique. And so it's a great, great way to work on stress, especially if it's something that you have physical tension, in your back, your shoulders, whatever. So let's do it together. So first thing again, Make yourself comfortable in your chair, feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, focus your gaze on something non-distracting. And now I'd like you to do a quick scan of your body, starting with your toes, up to your knees, up to your elbows, your shoulders, your head, and notice how you're feeling without trying to change anything. Do you feel tense anywhere? Are you feeling heavy, tired? Are there places in your body that feel at ease and relaxed? Take inventory from head to toe and just notice what you find without trying to change it. And now we're going to start with our toes, and we're going to take, and I'll count you into it. We're going to take a big breath in and then squeeze that part of our body as hard as we can for count of 5, and then release and breathe out. So do this as you're able, as you're comfortable. If it doesn't feel comfortable, don't do it. Just sit and take some additional deep breaths. Okay, so we're going to start by taking a deep breath in and curling our toes under, squeezing our toes like we were making a fist with our foot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out and relax your toes. Okay, now I want you to take a deep breath in and pull your feet to the sky. Flex your feet, squeeze the back of your calves. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out and release. Take a breath in and tighten your thighs. Squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out and release. Take a breath in. Squeeze those glutes, squeeze those butt muscles. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out and release. Whoops. Take a breath in and make a 3, 2, 1. Breathe out and release. Take a deep breath in and make a bicep. Pull your bicep, make a bicep muscle, and pull your hands to your shoulders and squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out. Release. Take a breath in and crunch your shoulders up to your ears, all the way up to your ears. Squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out. Release. And our last one, take a breath in, scrunch up your face, make a funny face, scrunch it all up, squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the tension and visualize it going out the top of your head. Take another 2 deep breaths in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. And one more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. What did you think of that one? You like that one? Not like it as much? Feel any more relaxed? And you can do that even with smaller groupings. Like, you can do your feet, then your ankles, your shins, your calves, your thighs, your stomach, right? You can go make it as small as you want. Different but good. That one helps me if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm trying to get back to sleep. So another one for your toolbox. I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly because I want to get to the last couple of slides and have time for questions. So RAIN is another practice that we can do. It's a mindfulness practice, and it's an acronym. R is for recognize what's going on. A is allow it, just allow the experience to be there as it is. I, investigate with kindness, and N is nurture or nourish. So this is a good one if you're feeling some kind of intense emotions, and all our emotions are are just what they are. Feelings are what they are. Feelings are never bad or good. They just are what you feel. They're all part of the human experience, and it's how our body communicates with us about what's going on. So hanging out with what we feel is sometimes really hard to do. And this is a practice that you can do that. So just real quickly, we're not going to practice it. I'm just going to give you the info. So the R, the recognize, just recognize what's going on in your body. Do I have some strong emotions or thoughts? And just doing it without judgment. So, just noticing, I feel frustrated, or this is anger. Oh, that's my inner bully acting up, whatever it might be. And A means allowing those thoughts, those emotions, those sensations just to be there. It doesn't mean you have to agree with your inner critic or the situation. It just means that you're just acknowledging whatever judgment might arise and saying, yeah, this is happening right now and it's okay. The I, investigate, just recognizing, allowing what's coming up, being curious about it. How am I experiencing this reaction in my body? What is my inner critic trying to tell me? Is it true? And then the N is for nurture or nourish. So we can intentionally care for those vulnerable and wounded places inside us and asking ourselves, what do I need most here? Reassurance, forgiveness, friendship, love. So this RAIN practice, if you want more info on that, I have it in my resources coming up for you. And it can be a really, really wonderful way to kind of find refuge from those really intense emotional feelings that we might have. This is a neat thing, a feelings wheel. If you haven't seen it, you might want to take a snapshot of it. And it helps you to figure out what you're feeling. Because when you can say what you're feeling, it makes it way less powerful over you. And a lot of times we just don't know what we're feeling. So if we can say, yeah, this is disappointment, this is anger, and name our emotion and sit with it, it lets that emotion be released. What happens if we ignore or we push emotions down and we don't acknowledge them and we don't talk about them and we don't deal with them? What might happen to us? Anybody have a thought on that one? If you just stuff your emotions down? Yep, you could get sick, absolutely. They build up until you can't ignore it anymore. They come back, right? You could explode, right? Literally, like if you shake up a bottle of soda. So we've got to acknowledge what we're feeling, and then it takes some of the power away from it, right? So weekly, these are some things that we can do. Think about what you can do once a week that can help you. Again, thinking of the piece that maybe you want to focus on the most. And then we've got monthly things. I love that physical one up at the top. And these are just suggestions, right? You get to determine what self-care looks like for you. These are just some ideas of what you can do. And then, so if you want to figure out, hey, where do I need to focus my time? For so many of us, we know it's important to have self-care, but we're so used to focusing on everybody else that we don't even know what we need sometimes. So these self-reflections here can kind of help you understand what you need. So ask yourself these questions, just maybe think about it, do some deep breathing, just kind of explore with curiosity what your mind is telling you with these questions. Again, the toolkit, you had tools when you came here. Hopefully you have a couple more that you can add to your toolbox. There's a lot of things we can do to kind of bring a sense of calm, take a break from that high stress. So make some notes of what impacted you today and you might like to try. And here's those resources. So That rain practice, if you want more information, Tara Brock is the one that kind of came up with that practice, and you can check her out. The first 3 are apps that are free. YouTube is a great resource for meditations and learning new skills. Lots of good information here and a lot more. I like this burnout book, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle by sisters Emily and Amelia Nagoski. So is there something that we talked about today? Doesn't mean it's brand new, but maybe you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. Anything that you heard today or saw on a slide that you think, you know what, I think I might want to add this. Might be an app, might be a practice, might be a barrier you want to tear down, might just be something that came to you, feelings, anything from today that you found beneficial. Relaxed breathing techniques. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. We can do it anywhere. Think about it and maybe just make yourself a note, jot it down so that you remember what kinds of things you learned today. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to go that fast. Questions, thoughts, anything that you want to share? Anything you're thinking or anything that you thoughts on the webinar or questions for me? Remember that you have those resources with BHS. You can go into the portal and find a lot more information on self-care, you know, all these types of things we talked about. Nina, any last minute words for us?
No, I would just say thank you so much for sharing. I think this was really helpful. I think there's techniques in here that we can all use every day. So I appreciate it. And just for everyone that attended, thank you very much. We'll also get the recording posted up into my FYI. And I also do have a copy of the slides that I will include, as well as just the BHS contact information for you once again as a resource. So I don't have anything else. Thank you very much, Jackie. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks. I hope I'm with you guys again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.